Hey everyone! In our coverage of the history of the Spectre, today we're going to talk about his role in the DC comic book event, Invasion. In our videos before, we've talked about how the Spectre was commanded by the Lords of Order to stop all magic users on Earth from being involved in an alien invasion of the world. So now we'll be seeing what the Spectre does in order to prevent the magical superheroes of Earth from getting involved, lest the entire world be plunged into chaos. With this new direction in mind, the Spectre returned to Nevada, while in New York, Deadman reunited with Madame Xanadu, informing her that the Spectre ordered them both to travel out to the desert to join the hero at once. To get there, Boston possessed a pilot, and the two hijacked a plane. Within a sprawling complex of caves, Zoran the Fisher witnesses Bug being kidnapped by demonic beings, taking him through a portal to another realm. Nearby, two more government agents arrive, but the men in black are quickly killed by a demon. During this, the Spectre approached other heroes he called out to across the Earth, informing them they could do nothing about the extraterrestrial invasion, but could help fight the demonic force out in Nevada. With Dr. Fate, the Phantom Stranger, Zatanna, the demons Tala and Etrigan, along with the recently arrived Madame Xanadu and Boston Brand, the powerful wielders of magic traveled to the caves to do battle with the beings from another dimension. They were discovered by Armani, Signer, and Zoran, who told them what had happened. The group put it to a vote whether or not they should rescue Bug or just seal the portal outright, with the Spectre voting that they save Bug after Jim's body briefly took over the Spectre to insist they do as much, considering Bug a friend and not wanting to sacrifice the man outright. The Spectre, Dr. Fate, the Phantom Stranger, Deadman, Zatanna, and Zoran all went through the portal to rescue Corrigan's colleague. The group eventually succeeded in finding Bug while also battling the beings from another dimension. They returned home, sealing the gateway behind them, while Etrigan and Tala slew all the demons still on Earth. The heroes were largely content with taking comfort in stopping at least one invasion of Earth, and were willing to put their trust in the other superheroes to stop the larger alien invasion. Deadman, however, refused to listen to the Spectre or the Lords of Order, and took off to involve himself in that conflict. In spite of the Spectre failing to stop Boston Brand and the explicit commands of the Lords of Order, in the end, Deadman proved a formidable foe against the alien invasion, and his involvement didn't seem to trigger any sort of cosmic repercussions in spite of the words of the Lords of Order. Eventually, the larger invasion of Earth was indeed repelled, and life began to return to normal. The staff of Cryptica Crimes all returned home, including Corrigan. On top of Madame Xanadu's home, in a half-transformed state, once again Jim spoke to the Spectre. Corrigan felt dismayed that the Spectre listened to beings like the Lords of Order readily, but Jim himself can't stop the spirit from doing anything. The Spectre in turn explained that he served a higher purpose and power, more sophisticated and complicated than Corrigan's sense of rationality or his feelings. Regardless, in this state, Jim didn't have a choice in the matter anyways, and seemed resigned to this fate. The Spectre, at this point in their lives, was in complete control, able to forcibly transform Corrigan's body into the Spectre at will, and take complete control over their shared form. Meanwhile, one of the many civilians who were affected by the alien invasion was discharged from a hospital. The man, named Richard Redditch, was one of many humans with a latent metahuman gene that was affected by the alien attack, even though Richard had no powers of his own. On his way out of the hospital, he was accosted by two strange men dressed in black. They told Richard they had a reason to think his life was in danger, and had the young man come with them. The men rushed off with Redditch, only for the vehicle to be ambushed by another group of men in red masks on the Triborough Bridge, who violently seized Richard and kidnapped the young man, while slaughtering the men in black. Elsewhere, Pete Quarrel noticed a body which appeared to have been killed in a way that suggested a new serial killer was active in New York City, just as a mysterious investigator arrived in pursuit of said killer. That investigator, who quietly checked into a rundown hotel, was a man named Jason Praxis, having been tracking the killer down across America for some time, with some in the press comparing this mysterious new slayer to Ted Bundy. Richard was taken to a scientist named Dr. Shockley, who led a team partnered with a man named Mr. Creech, a corporate representative for a secret group apparently called VTech, as they worked together in an attempt to turn Richard into a full-fledged metahuman, thanks to his latent gene, revealed in the process of him getting sick as a result of the alien invasion. While Creech saw the more obvious short-term profits in developing such techniques, Shockley had more ambitious ideas of developing a metagene activation technique which would give people customized powers and complete control over any emerging superhuman abilities. Back at Madame Xanadu's home, in light of his disappearance, Richard's wife Tara hired on Cryptica Crimes. She told them that Richard was acting strange even before the alien invasion, and was sure him vanishing had something to do with his metagene. So Jim had Bug and Armani look into the matter further. Nearby, Praxis briefed Coral on what he knew of this killer. This serial killer viewed himself as an artist who would speak to his victims even after he had murdered them, and had done this to at least 19 people so far. What's strange is the killer would often brag of his deeds to the press, but so far hadn't opted to do so in New York City. Back at the secret lab, the experiment got out of control, leading to a massive power surge felt across the city. The lab exploded, while elsewhere a young boy playing an arcade game was possessed by a strange energy at the same time. When Creech attempted to call for help, his walkie-talkie also exploded in an electrical surge. Richard emerged, his powers fully activated, and now possessing tremendous control over electricity and electronics. With these new abilities, he was easily able to escape captivity, killing 2 people on the way out. As for the young boy named Jamie, he promptly left the arcade, walking through New York City in a manner similar to Richard. And when confronted about his strange, listless behavior, Jamie responded by brutally killing a cat in front of some of his peers. The Spectre, who managed to split a piece of himself off to Corrigan to look into this, discovered and attacked Jamie, but stopped himself when he remembered what Corrigan said in defense of another innocent young man's life, and could see that something was wrong with Jamie. All too late, Shockley began to piece together what had happened. The experiment caused the metahuman gene to activate as dictated by the electricity and computers used to activate it in the first place. What Shockley and Creech failed to put together was a more sinister truth, that Richard was the serial killer Praxis was pursuing all along, and they just empowered this man to superhuman levels. Now able to transmit part of his mind across electrical systems, it was part of Richard that drove Jamie to mutilate and kill the cat. Redditch sensed his connection to Jamie and began transmitting orders. The Spectre informed Corrigan of what he experienced, and took hold of their shared body entirely, rushing off to learn more. Meanwhile, on orders from Richard, Jamie gathered a group of boys and exposed them all to Redditch's powers. Now possessed, the gang attacked a stranger, who was saved only by the Spectre's power, after many appendages burst forth from the dark superhero, knocking the gang of possessed children down in a swift and terrifying blow. Within the Spectre, Corrigan stopped the ghost from wiping out the gang entirely, pointing out something was clearly wrong with the children. So instead, the Spectre transformed back into Jim Corrigan's body, and Corrigan had some police detain Jamie and the others. The next day, Armani and Bug learned of Richard being taken by the Men in Black. This led Bug to recall a story he read in the paper of the same men being killed on the Triborough Bridge, and the two reported of this lead to Jim Corrigan. Because of this, Jim decided to call Pete Quarrel, who told him that the FBI were looking into the bridge incident, so he didn't know much. And Corrigan baited Pete into revealing that Richard appeared to still be alive, since the police didn't find an extra body among the Men in Black. Jim also realized that Redditch was probably kidnapped over his metahuman gene. Elsewhere, Richard hid away in a hotel room, while he possessed a punk and forced him to attack a stranger. He began exploring his powers, manipulating television broadcasts throughout the city. Realizing how strong he had become, Richard began making plans for bigger schemes. Sensing the spread of this power, Corrigan suddenly transformed into the Spectre, who set out to learn more in the city. We'll cover what the Spectre learns next time as we wrap up this story and move on to some Justice League stuff before we finally wrap up the Spectre's time in the Bronze Age. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time here on Comic Island.